Hey everyone, Justin here. Welcome back to a review of And Just Like That, Episode 3. I appreciate everyone's kind comments about my bathrobe. I'm back. and my kitchen, and just all of the kindness that you guys expressed in the comments. I hope you guys have your water, your wine, your snacks, because I'm gagging. We have to talk. So we open the episode. Carrie's back on her podcast. She's jumping in there. She's trying to hang with the more crass crowd. I'm personally hoping, as Miranda commented, I listened and they were fart jokes and this and that and the other. I'm hoping that she comes to the realization that, this speed isn't mine. It's for someone else, but not for me. She talks a little bit about the fact that their marriage, after the podcast, she talks a little bit about how their marriage, having been happy, a happy one, is helping her get through this loss. Having those good memories and having had a good thing is comforting, and I really liked that. I liked the kind of honest talk about loss and the small things that make you feel better, and the huge things that make you feel worse as we go along. But I kind of like that Miranda is not comfortable with the podcast, or she wasn't at the beginning. She's more my speed. So really quickly, we're in the boardroom where we're discussing the will, and a surprise line item is on Big's will, and he's left $1 million to Natasha, his ex-wife, and that line item just throws a whole monkey wrench in Carrie's grieving process. Big has never been communicative and never really expressed his feelings outwardly, and so he's left $1 million to his ex-wife without any explanation to Carrie. All of his philanthropic work, all of the charities that he, subscribes to, he's going to keep those charitable contributions. But why are you giving $1 million to your divorced or your ex-wife? And so it kind of disturbs Carrie's peace, that happiness that she had, knowing that they were happy together. Does Big have a double life, or did he have a double life? As she's snooping and making herself miserable, guys, she's finding, where you look, you will find. And apparently, they had a dog named Goji, and he's got some habits that he kept from Carrie. And, in her incessant need to hold on to this perfect happiness that they had, she's making herself miserable. On reflection, it's okay to hold on to parts of yourself. It was okay that Big didn't share his dog and, some of his shopping habits with Carrie. That's what made him an individual, and he was able to hold on to some of his individuality. So, in the midst of all of this cloud that starts hanging over Carrie and Big's marriage, Charlotte's daughter Rose is here to declare that she finally wants to be herself, and she wants to make a statement to the family that she doesn't feel like a girl. She doesn't want to be referred to that anymore. And there was some foreshadowing in the last episode with the wardrobe choices. So we knew this was coming. But Charlotte, really doesn't know. She responds appropriately in the moment, but really doesn't know how to navigate it. So when they're at Mario Cantone's shop, he says, little girl, put some deodorant on, step it up, do this, that, and the other. And Charlotte takes him out into the hallway and says, I don't know how to navigate this new, thing that's going on with my daughter. And, he says, let it go. just be there for her. She is a developing person. The more you exclaim about it, the more you make it a defining moment, the larger the impact will be. And so he gives some pretty wise advice to just let it go and let her develop, and we don't know where her final destination will end up being, And so I thought that was pretty good advice. Miranda and Steve, they are hilarious. Miranda always was the comic relief to me, but Miranda and Steve are just the cutest couple and really funny. Their kids, it's just me, but I think the kids need to go. I think that's where we're headed. I think they're a little bit too adult in the home, and I think Miranda and Steve are trying to be new age and trying to be accepting of all of these different kinds of lifestyles, and it's hit home, and they don't know when to say no. They don't know when to say stop, this isn't for me, necessarily. But those kids have got to go. What do you think about Miranda's kids? They're having sex in the house and really have taken over the space. The daughter makes one, not the daughter, but the girlfriend makes one pretty interesting statement, though. Miranda's about to take offense to something she says about aging bones, and the young girl says, aging is really just the definition of being alive. I'm getting older myself. If you're alive, you're aging. So why is it an offense or an insult to discuss aging? You want to be respected as an older person. Respect the fact that you're aging, and I liked that. I like. This is an interesting commentary to me. I like that the show is not shying away from privilege. Big is throwing $1 million here and keeping up a trust there and a college in New Orleans. And, there's enough money there that Carrie doesn't have to do anything for the rest of her life. And they're not being shy or coy about the fact that these are extremely wealthy and privileged people. But it does not help the fact that Carrie believes that Big has had a double life. So Carrie starts emailing Natasha, the ex-wife, to try to get some closure. The emails bounce back, and then she reaches out through Instagram and sends her a DM, and Natasha blocks Carrie on Instagram. I gagged. I gagged, because even Miranda said, well, she knows you're grieving. She's going to respond in a mature and a compassionate way. And Natasha blocked Carrie on Instagram, which sent her spiraling, She's walking. She can't spend any time in the apartment. She can't sleep. She can't eat. The life that they work so hard to build together is tattered and crumbles. Hold on. Just because of Big's contribution to Natasha. So the girls camp out. Carrie's gonna have this conversation with Natasha no matter what. I kept thinking the whole time, let it go, let it go, let it go. You've got to grieve and find a way to move on from where you are. But they camp out outside of Natasha's office, and she's beautiful. She gets out of the car, she's happy, her hair's blowing, and she's moved on with her life. Carrie goes in, follows her into her office, and says, can I see Natasha? And they ask her to wait a while they reach out. And Natasha's receptionist comes out and really professionally says, I'm so sorry to keep you waiting. I was just made aware that you were out here. Natasha's in Rome. She's out of the office. And the title of the episode is, When in Rome. You do what the Romans do. And so Carrie has been insulted several times by this lady, and we're thinking from the perspective we have at this point in the episode, why is she being so insensitive towards this woman that's just lost her husband? And Carrie is walking. She ends up on the Upper West Side at a coffee shop, and there is Natasha coming out of the bathroom. That's how Sex and the City has always worked, and it was really funny that it happened here. And so they finally have a conversation, and my perception and Carrie's perception is just flipped on its head. I gagged. And Natasha says, don't you think I've given you my husband? I've given you the dream that I had of a happy life and marriage. Don't you think I've given you enough? And I said, wow, how mature and how real was that? And so the two of them sit down, they have a conversation, and Carrie is finally able to get some semblance of closure about the relationship. Natasha says, we haven't talked since the divorce. There is no other life or no other relationship going on. And Carrie says, I think this was his way, because he's not good at communicating, of saying I'm sorry. So I thought that was really, really interesting. Then the girls go and support Carrie's boss. Miranda likes the boss, so they agree to go to this comedy show. It's not their crowd, as we've been talking about, not their speed, but they show up as 55-year-old women. And I loved the comedy set that the boss had. This is the first time I really connected with everything, obviously, as an LGBT person, everything that she was talking about, about being lonely and the perception of who we are as people in society. And you don't have to be a lonely person. You don't have to be this bitter person to live an alternative lifestyle. And everything starts clicking with Miranda. And I just loved it. She realizes, this stale, I think this is where we're going, that this stale relationship with Steve, we're staying together just for the kids' sake, it's really not serving my purpose. And as nice a guy as Steve is, I think that relationship, the unhappiness that she has with the kids in the house that are, having sex, I think all of that is going to come to a head. And Miranda was just liberated by that comedy show. And at the end, she ends up kissing and making out with the boss. And Carrie, one of the things that the comedian says is, if you're unhappy, make a change. You can change your sexuality, you can change your address, you can change your situation. And it liberated all of them, and they were grateful that they went. It's commentary on getting your butt out of the house and going to events. You never know when a word or a statement is going to change your life. And that was the message that I'm taking away from this episode. Get out of the four walls of this apartment and get out there and learn some things about life, because as smart as you may be, your perspective can change any time. Charlotte immediately calls Rose and says, you know what, I just want to tell you. I just want to tell you, whoever you are, that I love you. It's okay that I'm confused. It's okay that I don't know the answer to all of this, but I just want to let you know that I'm your mom and I love you. And I loved that. And Carrie says, everyone's kind of thinking, and Carrie goes home to this fabulous penthouse apartment that we were talking about in the last episode that has just become this dour place. And it's no longer home. And taking the advice of the comedian, she starts walking again. She takes one more walk. Hopefully this is her final, rambling through New York. And she goes home to that, apartment that she had in the series. And just like that, she went home. And they all made interesting and important changes. My mouth was hanging open at so many turns of this conversation. I see this review has gotten up to 14 minutes, but there was just so much to dissect and talk about. What had your jaw on the ground in this episode? Did you see the Miranda? I mean, there's been incredible foreshadowing. Life imitates art with her real life, but I didn't see it coming in this episode and in such a grand evolution. So I can't wait. This season, to me, is the most mature season of Sex and the City that we've ever had. I'm taking life lessons away from each episode and just loving it. What were your favorite parts? Was there anything that caught you off guard? And again, I really appreciate all of you for watching. Please give this video a like if you will, a comment, and please consider subscribing for more Sex in the City and more movie and TV related content. Until next week, guys, have a good one. Cheers.